Welcome to the Fashion at School podcast. My name is Dwight Carter, and today our guest is Rocket Supernova. Rocket is known for a dynamic and innovative approach that spans fashion design, painting, digital art, and jewelry. Rocket, you're not just a designer, but an experienced entrepreneur, and I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carter, for having me.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I've been following you on Instagram, and I love, man, you're definitely my style. I love it. Can you start by telling us about your journey as a fashion entrepreneur and what inspired you?
Okay, so that's a very good question. And I just want to be like, yo, shout out to my mama because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have developed the interpersonal skills to be able to go out and talk to people and communicate with people and put myself out there because so often we have so many what is it? Talented artists, but no one has the capacity or even the knowledge of how to put themselves out there. You know, we got a lot of talented introverts. So at a very
Mm-hmm.
early age, my mother taught me how to put myself out there as a salesman. I used to sell sun visors at the flea market to make extra money. She taught me how to be a hustler. So with that being said, that's what really put me in position to be able to get this paper and grind because my mama, she taught me how to put myself out there.
That's great. Uh, what are some of the initial challenges you faced when starting your fashion venture, and how did you overcome them? Or did
Well,
you have any major challenges?
I would say what one of the challenges was is this. I grew up in an era where being weird wasn't cool. You know what I'm saying? At the
Mhm.
time, I've always been like tapped into the slimes. You know what I'm saying? Like if you check my resume, I'm really tapped in on a way that you can't even imagine when it comes to the streets and coming up in this city. So one of the challenges was just like being before my time and having to deal with people that's behind, people that ain't really as aware or as far sighted or in the future as you, or even have the brave ability to be an individual, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, why do you think you were weird? Why do you use that word?
Well, because I mean, I've always had like foresighted fashion. I
Mhm.
always had an eye that was out of this world, you know? So when it came to my choice in music and that's my ability to dress and like we shopped at Hot Topic back when Hot Topic still had clothes for people. Hot Topic stopped having clothes and I had to start making them. I had to start making the clothes that I wish Hot Topic had. That's how I turned into a designer because the malls and the stores no longer held the clothes that I needed because at some point it just wasn't I guess it faded out when it came to them, but I was always attracted to the individual sparks. Like, okay, I may say I'm weird because I like the jacket Edward Scissorhands wore. You know, like that's one of the greatest jackets in history. Even the scissors too. You know, so it's just like that's why because at a very early age I was tapped into my inner chaotic genius, and I appreciated all forms of art that depicted that in society.
Yeah. No, I'm on that level too. I was a big music fan, and I was a Fishbone fan, and I really resonated with the weirdness of um, the dreadlocks and the mohawks and all the tattoos and all that stuff. And I was the same thing. So I was completely different than the people that I hung out with.
Hmm.
But I appreciated myself and I liked being that way. It made me who I am today and my own personality.
Yeah, I love and I have such a deep love and respect for anyone who embraces their individuality. That takes so much bravery and so much courage in a world full of everyone that want to look like each other and do the same thing. That's why at Rocket Supernova, we specialize and very much take pride in our ability to channel and make clothes for individuals. You tell us your aesthetic. Of course, we got the Rocket Supernova aesthetic, but the Rocket Supernova aesthetic is the aesthetic of bringing your superhero or super villain out, whatever it is you can imagine. We want that inner child to be able to be alive and thrive. Like, not to get too far off, but I watched the Elvis movie the other day, right,
Hmm.
on Netflix, and I couldn't help but think about Elvis fashion designs in that movie and how dope Elvis designs was. Like they were, I would want to wear an Elvis fit today. That's how much I like the fashion designs. But he was talking about when he was little, he thought he was a superhero. So that explains the cape, and that explains how he grew up and what he became to be. So going back to what I was saying, the inner child, being an individual.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Being creative, and running a business. How do you balance both being creative and then running the business behind the scenes?
That's a very hard thing to balance, and a lot of people can't do it, because of the stress. I have a spiritual mother, and she teaches me that like I can't be on the shore and at sea at the same time. I will rip apart because of the stress that I have to endure. I can't be on. I'll eventually rip apart. So being a businessman and a creative is very much similar. Only thing different is the fact that as human beings, when we come into alignment with something that we're passionate about, we have the ability to change our perception and allow that to affect every aspect of our life, which means we tie our entire life around the success of our passion. And, being a spiritual being, I've learned that that means kind of like dovetailing, like pretty much psyching yourself out, but not psyching yourself out to be always in a continuous space of loving devotion and service. So by doing that, you approach your business aspect as if it's a part of your artistic work, and you're not too much attached to the fruits of your labor, even though you may have the capacity to be like, yo, I need that money, I got to get that paper, but that isn't your predominating drive. You see what I'm saying? That's just like a subconscious staple to remind you that, yo, we're not in this for nothing. And then you let that part of you take the back seat, and then you allow your ability to just be true to your passion take you there.
Yeah. Do you have a team that you work with?
Yeah, I got a team that pop up and show out when I need them to. First and foremost, I want to shout out my brother Nike Turbo, always been day one aspect of my team. Secondly, I want to shout out my brother, my cousin Knockout, who's always there for me. You know what I'm saying? And
Uh,
then I need to holler at my bro Houdini, who just goes so hard. Shout out to the Houdini Network. I'm dropping the Rocket Journal right now. We doing that. Yeah, so I got, and then my bestie, my roadie, someone that I just really have to show so much love and gratitude to, you know what I'm saying? Because she's been there helping me with every show, being loving support, giving me my flowers when no one else gave me my flowers. My girl Destiny. Destiny always come through. She's an art handler. With my fashion shows, I have a lot of art exhibitions involved with my shows because I'm an artist as well. And Destiny helps install my art. She helps transport my art. And she's an artist too. You know what I'm saying? We actually in the process of um doing our, probably it's like our second or third event for our nonprofit art organization called the Radical Arts Division, which has a whole stretch when it comes to things we're gonna do here in the city. But yeah, that's so shout outs to Destiny. And then you know what I'm saying, shout outs to anybody that ever helped me, ever loved me, ever been there for me, ever came through for me, you know, they're all my team as well. Because I have the energetic capacity to get a lot of things done, and without them shopping with me, spending money, believing, buying tickets, motivating me, it's a sense of accountability. They give me a sense of accountability because I have to deliver. You know, so everyone that believes in me, that showed me, share my stuff, they're all part of my team. But those people I named, that's the few. I have so many people to love and appreciate. My girl Pia, my girl Key just hooked me up. I have a team, and this is the thing about teams, because I worked at Companion Bakery for a long time, and I
Hmm.
love Companion Bakery. I love the owner at Companion Bakery. You know what I'm saying? Josh Allen. He came to my fashion shows. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're really thorough. And what I learned there is that when I was talking to some of the bosses, because I've always been an entrepreneur, I've always been a boss. So I always paid attention to how things are operated and ran from the top to the bottom. If I had to get a job, if I had to do this, I always paid attention to how the people in charge operated and worked. You see what I'm saying? And I
Hmm.
will apply it to a certain level when it came to, you know, if it could help me or not. And what one thing I learned at working at Companion, and I hollered at Josh, you know what I'm saying? And one thing that stood out that he told me, he said, you get some good people and you stick with them good people. The universe will bring good people around you. And when them good people come around you, you take care of them and you stick with them.
Yep. That's all you got to say. I totally understand that. You spoke about producing fashion shows. What are the key elements for a well-produced show? Like, what is your process to produce a fashion show? So you produce all your own shows with your clothing for the
Um,
most part, right? All right.
yeah,
So tell me about that.
that goes back to shouting out my mama. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because she taught me how to put myself out there. If I felt like I needed others to get what I got going popping, I would have always been waiting on somebody to accept me as a designer, or accept me with what I do, or accept how I do this and do that. When when you know what you got going on and you know your worth, you don't need anyone else to accept or acknowledge you. Because 9 times out of 10, people just be hating.
Mhm.
Or they're trying to figure out how they can get paid. But they not trying to help you get paid. They trying to figure out how they can get paid without trying to help you get paid. And that's the conflict of interest. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so with that being said, one of the key elements when it comes to producing your own shows is first and foremost believing in your operation. If you don't believe in what you're about to accomplish and what you're doing, you're not going to do it. You're going to be pulled in this way and that way, and you're going to be saying, I should have listened to them. I should have did that. Have an idea of what it is you want to do, how you want to do it, and stay true to it. And stay open to the evolution of that idea, but don't throw it away.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
If you ain't got that, you're not going to be successful at all. Secondly, how many looks is you about to put on this runway? Is it like what? How many designs do you want to show? How many designs do you want to show? Are you the only person in the show, or are there other designers in the show? Are there other elements to the show? You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
plays an important factor because people paying their money, they coming out to see what you got going on. They believe in you. Like, what are you delivering? Is it some skimpy stuff? Is it just this, that, turn your head, wow, thank you for coming out? Or is it something that's going to have their attention from the moment it starts to the moment it finishes? Or is it going to be something that got their attention and it's drawn out? And these things matter because people paying their money to come see what you got going on.
Right.
And if it ain't that, they gonna talk about it. And if it's that, they gonna talk about it. And if it's so or mid, guess what? They gonna talk about it.
Right.
So how are you showing up for yourself? You have to be conscious of these things. That
Right.
you know what I'm saying? And then the
Right.
music, gotta have the music on point. So them
Yeah.
the main three things, you know what I'm saying? The music, the show, and then whatever I said before that.
So how do you pick your music? Do you pick it according to what you're going to show, or is it you have a specific? I know you like the Deftones.
Deftones probably single-handedly carried my whole fashion career to this day. Why? Because the moment and momentum of how I pick my music is based off the energy. How I pick my music is based off of the energetic vibrations I feel when I imagine my designs on the runway in relation to the music I'm listening to.
Are the Deftones a group that you listen to when you design?
Damn right. I
Yeah.
play the Deftones. I make clothes the Deftones. Drink the Deftones. Cheers the Deftones. I sleep the Deftones. I drive the Deftones. And I think listening to Deftones.
Oh man. Can you share a memorable or impactful project that you've worked on? And what did you learn from that experience?
Well, we talking about shows. It had to been the last show I just did. It was the Man Made show that was inspired by Jean Michel Basquiat, one of my favorite artists. You know,
Yeah.
and that show took my art to another level more than anything. Because the fashion designs was of course amazing. The models involved were so beautiful, so talented, so skilled, so enthusiastic. They just had all the elements when it came to like being it girls. I had a whole runway full of it girls. And then when I had like with the guys, it was a whole bunch of them dudes. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
people who can stand on their own, that's known. You know what I'm saying? That's making it happen. That's looking good in this drip. But more than anything, the show was revolved around just the way I was painting the clothes. I sold a lot of garments, but so my designer skills range from so many different levels. I could literally do everything when it comes to clothes manufacturing. So as an artist, I have my moments and vibrations and feels and vibes that I'm in at certain times when it comes to my shows. And for the Man Made show, it was more circulated around my origins and the origins that I feel I share with Jean Michel Basquiat. And that's with the fact that before he started painting big pictures, he had a clothing line called Man Made, where he just strictly painted clothes and painted stuff. It's in one of his documentaries. You can look it up on YouTube. I don't know which one, but if you go down a rabbit hole, you'll find it. And
Okay.
that was his clothing line. It was called Man Made, and he just painted clothes, painted trench coats, painted shirts, painted whatever. And that's how I started. And for a long time, because I have a very very, very, very talented friend named Chris Cole. She's one of the greater designers in this city, established for designing some of the most luxurious prom dresses, and she's been doing it for a minute. And you know what I'm saying? I've been tapped in with her, so it's just like when I was doing the Man Made and went to the origins of my abilities, she always told me like, "Yo, Rocket, how does it feel to come from a place where no one really acknowledged you?" Because she was there. She one of the goddesses, one of the women that kind of helped fine tune my style of sewing. Her and Ish Henderson. Ish is very good in sewing. She's one of the most talented seamstress, tailors, designers I know. No, seamstress. She's not a seamstress.
Mhm.
One of the most talented seamstresses, tailors, designers I know. You name it, she can do it. She is efficient when it comes to working with clothes that materials that don't stretch. She can carve and shape any type of pattern and sew it. So she really showed me a lot of stuff when it came to sewing. And then when it came to the more luxurious end, Chris was showing me how to really be in tune with the elegant side of things and to work with this material that really hugs and holds the women's body. You know what I'm saying? So she was like, how does it feel coming from a place of when no one really accepted you to being pretty much him right now when it comes to fashion in St. Louis? And that place when no one really accepted me is when I was just painting clothes. It's very much similar to Jean Michel. I
Mhm.
was just painting clothes and no one acknowledged me as a designer. You know, they turn their face up and they'd be like, you know, he just painting clothes. But I wasn't just painting clothes. I was artistic with it. I was also distressing clothes. That's not something easy to do, bleaching and distressing and painting. But yeah, maybe I was just painting clothes in their eyes. But what that showed me is that if I want to actually hold the credentials of a designer, I need to really, really, really learn skills. Because
Mhm.
I ain't got time for nobody trying to treat me not trying to treat me like who I am, not who I am. Trying to
Mhm.
treat me like who I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Or not trying to treat me like who I am. I ain't got time for that. So what I'm going to do is, okay, that's fine. I Over the years in perfecting my craft, I've always added to, never took anything away. I can sew something from raw materials, anything inside out, deconstruct some, reconstruct some, draft some materials. You know, one thing that each taught me it was like when you learn how to turn two dimensionals into three-dimensional objects, you know, that's the key. And we will have highly evolved conversations because that's, you know, how we built our friendship. We were always in an elevated space. So we were able to
Mhm.
have conversations like this. She was able to drop gems like that, and because she knew the level of intelligence I had, that it would digest for me and I will understand it and I will receive it and carry it, you know. And
Mhm.
ultimately, what are we doing? We're making clothes. We're turning two-dimensional objects to three-dimensional things.
Is that how you learned how to sew?
Very much indirectly, but very much so.
Okay.
It wasn't like no real sewing classes. It was like, yo, this how you sew a straight line.
Mhm.
And I tell a lot of people because I'm kind of like a professional skateboarder. If I wanted to be, I could. Shout out to all my skaters. You know what I'm saying? But I tell a lot of people that you can drop a dime and I'm going to add it up. I'm very
Right.
intelligent. I learn how to do things quickly. I know how to learn stuff. I'm smart. So, you know, just being in association of professionals, you know, when you train with the best, you learn from the best indirectly because association is everything. And I've learned that in my spiritual discipline, association is everything. So by being in association of these, you know, designer queens, inevitably I was able to just absorb that knowledge and that energy. And it was the most subtle lessons. I had already been programmed. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Just from
Yeah.
being in the space of the greats. So those lessons were nothing but shortcuts for me to believe that I could do these things.
Right.
And they were minimal. Just sewing a straight line. Oh,
Right.
this
Right.
is how this is how your machine works.
Right.
This is what I use to draft patterns.
That's awesome. You're definitely inspiring. This podcast is to inspire other designers and other entrepreneurs in the fashion industry. And I feel that what you're saying is right on point and will inspire a lot of our younger designers or students that want to become a successful entrepreneur. And I believe you're successful now.
You know what they say the definition of success is the continuous realization of your dreams and ambitions.
Hmm.
You know, so success can't be defined to the end game. Success is defined to every milestone or millimeter stone you accomplish on your path towards your ultimate goal. So, right now, like you say, I am successful. Why? Because I have been continuously progressing.
Yep. let's talk about your book.
Oh, I got a copy of it.
Let's
Look.
talk about that.
Okay, I'm gonna pull this one out because this the one I had with me when I was living in LA. I had went to LA for 3 months. I was out there
Mhm.
top of 2020 before COVID came. Then COVID came, and why would I be in LA during COVID when I live in St. Louis? You know,
Yeah.
and that's like a nightmare horror movie. It's 100 million people at the subway. I'm from St. Louis in the Midwest. You get a couple people at the Metro Link. I'm not gonna be shimmying around 100 people when you can catch this disease just by, you know, not
Yeah.
social distance. I went home. You heard me? But I had this with me though, and this is a copy of my book. I was reading it out there.
Okay. What's your book called?
So it's called The Human Phenomenal Extraordinaries.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's some I just coined the term last night. I published it in 2017. No, I published it in 2016. It's right here on the paper. I can show you. Copyright Rocket Supernova 2016. You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
It and then guess what? The funny thing about it is that it was published on Halloween. I know the kids in the future when they really get pulled into the supernova mythology, they're gonna be like, "You published it on Halloween?"
So how can you get the book?
So I have copies. Um, you can go on my website, rocketsupernova.com, and order
Mhm.
them on there. Of course, it's pretty much you got to get to me to get them. I'm working on a second edition right now where I can probably have it a little more easily accessible. But I feel like this is such a powerful book because I don't remember writing it. It was channeled. So
Mhm.
it's such a, oh, I do remember writing it, but I'm saying I read it today and I'd be like, whoa, who wrote this? You know what I'm saying? Like a younger,
Mhm.
better, more intelligent version of myself accomplished this because it published in 2016, but I had been writing it for 8 years before that. See what I'm saying? So I published
Mhm.
it after writing it for 8 years. And here we are in 2024, what, 8 years later. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we on a whole nother time warp, you know what I'm saying, metaphysical cataclysm type stuff when it come to that. But you can get it from me or on my website right now. I still have first edition copies, second edition copy dropping soon. It is a metaphysical fantasy. That's the term we call it. It's a metaphysical fantasy.
And you're writing a second book?
Yes, I'm writing a second book.
Okay.
It's called Venus Budunzi. I'm actually working on 3 books right now. Venus Budunzi, which is part 2 to the Human Phenomenal Extraordinaries, and then a book on astral projection called Rocket Supernova's Psychic Sleeper, and then another fantasy fiction called Boat Ringer, which talks about a realm very much similar to purgatory, but it's called Purgasix, where you got these beings that don't have skin, but they made out of lightning.
Nice. And when do you expect that to come out?
It's gonna come out this year.
Um, what besides your book coming out? What else is coming next for you? You said you got some stuff in the spring.
Yeah, so I have a couple things
Any more
going.
fashion shows?
Yeah, so and I really appreciate this interview, Dwight, man. Thank you,
Mhm.
man.
Oh, you're welcome.
For
Yeah.
real. Cause like very seldom I get to talk to others about what I got going on. I'm always doing my own interviews because I never waited for nobody to do me an interview, you know? So I've always done my own. So I
Yeah.
appreciate genuinely being interested. Like you hit me up in the spring last year for this show, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, it ain't like just now. It's actually happening now, but you've been messing with me. It ain't like no spur of the moment type of thing.
No.
And I really appreciate it. I really appreciate that. But yeah, with my show, I have a show coming out in May 11th. My next big fashion and art show. It's called Solaris Eternum. I have a show that I'm doing with Slew Vogue. That's gonna be in April. Of course, we got the Gent show coming up in February. Uh,
Hmm.
I have a magazine that's about to drop called XP Nova Fashion. That's dropping in March. It would have been a sooner date, but for some strange reason, I thought the ambitious idea to develop a magazine, and I didn't know how long it took when it came to actually perfecting everything and
Mhm.
having it to where it is where you want it. So it was gonna drop last year. It's dropping this year. So
That happens with everything.
yeah.
If you're an entrepreneur, you try new things. And I was told once before by a mentor of mine, be the first to fail.
Mm,
Be the first to fail. And then you can perfect it later. But
mm.
don't let someone else do it before you. If you do it first and you fail, then you you did that before they did. You can always perfect something.
I like that. Just get it out there. Let them know it was one of your original ideas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, man, I thank you for joining me on this podcast, and I look forward to working with you a lot more. And I really, really enjoyed everything you said, and I think everyone's going to be listening to this and and subscribing and saving it and listening over and over again because you're an inspiring person. I'm not even a designer, and I'm inspired to create. Um, but yeah, I really appreciate it, man. Yeah, I love the fact you like the Deftones. You're writing a book. You're everything.
Man, you
Um,
thing, man, because we're each other. Thank you so much for having me, bro. Like, the love is mutual, and I'm really pumped about this show for real. Like
yeah.
you're inspiring me more to really show out for this show. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh,
like
good.
it's about to go crazy.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for joining us on the Fashion is Cool podcast. Rocket Supernova makes fashion cool. He makes the industry cool. He's going to make our fashion shows cool. So please subscribe, and we will see you at another time.